and I think you and I at some point talked about this. There were the gal who is an Indian on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation was telling us this story, and she and her uncle and aunt went out hunting out in the more remote parts of their reservation, and they went down into like a gully where the creek or the river is. I think it would be more like a creek, and they encountered a Bigfoot who was really pissed because piecing it together, the Bigfoot had been hunting a deer, and these Indian hunters came in and interrupted what he was doing, and he was not happy that they invaded, and he was throwing rocks at them, and they were petrified. And the uncle finally got out of the car because they couldn't get cell phone reception in the gully, went up to the tops, and he was able to call and get somebody, but they spent, I think, a couple hours in the truck, and the Bigfoot even came down and was shaking the truck. But I think it was, all because that was the Bigfoot's food supply, and these people were messing things up. So that's a story that could be interpreted as being very, very frightening. On the other hand, we have a wonderful story that we got a number of years ago, where a man befriended the Bigfoot over time, not instantly, and the male Bigfoot would come down when the man was gardening and would communicate with him. The man shared things from his garden and would also share leftover food with this family of four. It was Mama, Papa, and two half-grown Bigfoot. And, that was nothing but positive. So you get everything. And just like we have human beings, I mean, I don't think any of us would want to be friends with a serial murderer in jail that we might hear about. And yet we have people like Mother Teresa. So we're all the same species.
Oh, yeah. Anything else on Earth changes or anything like that? Have you been getting any reports of the magnetic field anymore? Is it still moving or anything interesting where,
I haven't pursued that recently at all. I may pick it up again, but right now the giants and have kind of moved to my forefront right now.
Yeah. I have a regular guest on my show, Samantha, that has been sending me pictures, and when she's on my show, we put a link to her website. Little people, but these little people are like 6 inches or maybe even smaller.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. Obviously they must be little people, and we hear about those kind of things in different parts of the world. The little people that I have learned about here in the mountains are like 3 feet tall, maybe 3.5 feet tall, or maybe just under 3 feet, but let's say roughly 3 feet. And they're not like fairies, and they're not like these teeny tiny little creatures.
Yeah. What are the ones that in your area that are around 3.5 feet tall? Are they pretty much looking like us, only scaled down, or are they disformed or anything interesting about those?
No, they're not like dwarfs. They're like a miniature form of regular human beings, but they're not all the same clan, let's say. The ones here, and I have found out that there are still little people here in the remote parts of the reservation, so there are still some around. They basically look like little Cherokees. When I went to eastern Tennessee, the little people there who live underground, but they come out and they dress and look more like Europeans.
Interesting. Now, again, going back with Samantha, with her stuff, some of these pictures, what she does is she takes them and then she enhances them a little bit to bring out the features where you can see it more. But they're interesting, like one of them looked like they had glasses on. It's a strange thing, she claims that there's portals being reported in that area in Clearwater, Washington, where this is going on. And I'm just wondering, are they coming? I don't know. Maybe they're aliens. Who knows? I just find it interesting. I've just never heard of, little people around 6 inches tall, I've heard like what you're talking about, 2 feet, 3, 4
I've
feet.
heard of the ones that are very small also, but I've never been able to get a credible source to write about it. But I certainly have gotten many reports of the other kinds that are obviously the big ones in comparison.
Huh.
You might find this interesting. You've mentioned vortex a couple times this evening, and I just happened to catch something on TV. It obviously was a documentary. I didn't see the beginning or the end, but it was David Paulides, and he was out at one of the Indian ruins in the West, and somebody had just disappeared, like out of plain sight there. And he brought in technical people who had the equipment to measure any kind of energy change and things of, I don't know what all. But they found out that there was like a time lag that they could measure over a distance that would be like the width of a basketball court at the most. And so there was a higher energy measurement at that point also. So there was a little bit of a time lag, and there was a little bit of an energy difference. And so suddenly they were contemplating the idea that it might have been a portal, and maybe that's how people were disappearing.
Yeah, could you imagine go out in the woods and you take a step, and all of a sudden, who knows where you're at?
Yeah, the only thing we can relate to it are the movies where they beam people up.
Well, that's always a possibility, because I also had a guest on here recently. He wrote a book about the triangle, like UFO bases and aliens and stuff like that. And they encountered 3 states, 3 national parks, made a perfect triangle. And these 3 national parks seem to be a real high head count of people going into them and disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think I'll just lock myself in my bedroom.
I don't think they're going to come after you. I really don't worry about it.
Well, if they put me in their spaceship, it'll crash because I'm too heavy.
And like I said, if you don't have a history in your family of abductions, the chances of you being abducted become very, very minimal.
Yeah, that's one thing.
And also, according to the little people in Tennessee, the dominators, the ones they are so afraid of, prefer little people to eat.
Oh.
So if you've got some size to you, that would be like, I don't know, you wouldn't be at the top of their list.
Well, it sounds like population control with the little people there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever come out. But, again, these underground bases, they seem to keep, reports of people, finding them in different parts of the country. And it seems to be a lot more than I even thought existed. And that's, and they seem, like you mentioned, that they keep expanding. And it makes me wonder why. Why do we need this? I thought the Cold War was over, unless they're thinking maybe some doomsday asteroid's going to hit Earth and, they're going to be all safe underground.
I hear you. I can give you another. This is probably the oldest story we've ever done about Bigfoot. And it's about a Bigfoot rescuing a mortally wounded Civil War soldier. I found a very short version of this on a YouTube channel, and I had so many questions. I finally was able to track the guy down, and I didn't, I was curious why he wasn't explaining more about it. And he did explain, and I had to keep him anonymous, but he has a friend who is a community college instructor who is also a published author, and he writes scholarly articles and books. And he got a letter from during some of his research, and it was on very old paper with the old kind of pen, cursive writing that you simply don't see anymore. And the man wrote the article, or wrote his letter, a lengthy letter, I guess sort of like a history lesson for his family. And in that, he runs into and is saved by people he calls the forest people. Now, mind you, in the Civil War, the terms Bigfoot and Sasquatch did not exist. But he was taken into a cave, and nursed back to health by these Bigfoot. And one of the images that stuck out in my head that made it just sound so believable is that it was kind of a earthen type cave, and he talked about when he first was getting more mobile, there were roots coming down through the top of this cave, and he used them to help pull himself up. And I just thought that was real interesting because that's not the normal image that somebody would have of a cave.
That's interesting.
So if anybody wants to see that one, it's just called Bigfoot Rescued Civil War Soldier, and it is in the E.T. and Bigfoot section. For this, it's listed there now.
Boy, you know, what's interesting about your website, a person can get on there and look at something and spend an hour or two a day for weeks and not even tap everything.
I wish I had one of those incredible memories that could remember everything that was on the website. People will ask me questions, and, you know, the details that make things come alive won't necessarily pop to the top of my head, you know, unless I've just refreshed myself with the article. But that's a fairly recent one, so that kind of came to my head pretty easily.
Now, if somebody has a story that, you know, and they want to share it to you, how would they be able to do it?
It's really easy. First of all, if your readers can just remember skyshipsovercachers.com, they can find everything they need. On the home page, there's an editor's corner, and that's not going to help you. Hold on, I'm giving you bad advice. At the very, very top, it says how to report sightings, and just click on that, and my name, my mailing address, and my email address are all there.
Great. So they can tell you what they ran into and share that with you.
Right. And if somebody's got a good story, if they're anywhere close to where I live, I love to interview people in person if I can, because it just helps. You can tell if somebody's being sincere, and you can just, you know, whether it's a real true story that you're getting. And then I can also do phone interviews. Some people can write really well, and they can write it, and that's another way to do it. But anyhow, any way that works. So if somebody has something really good, probably the easiest way to get in touch is with the email address, and it's brillobulletins@yahoo.com.
Okay. Now, your books that you've written, you want to list them off and where they can be found?
The one that we've been talking about to some degree is called Underground Military Bases Hidden in North Carolina Mountains. There's one that's called Cherokee Little People Were Real. And the third one is Tangible Evidence of Jesus Left Behind for Us to Find, or just Tangible Evidence of Jesus. All of those books are available from Amazon. And if you want to get just a preview of them, again, if you go to the homepage at skyshipsovercachers.com, and open up Editor's Corner, and then scroll way down to the bottom, and there's a brief summary of each of the books, and there's even a sample chapter of from Tangible Evidence of Jesus, so you can get a feel of what the writing style is like.
Oh, wow. Hey, Mary, boy, the hour went by really fast. I want to thank you again for coming on Night Dreams Talk Radio. I mean, every time I let my listeners know you're on, I get a lot of emails at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com, just expressing how happy they enjoy your website and they enjoy having you on my show.
Well, thank you. That's very nice feedback. I appreciate it. And again, I encourage your listeners, if they have something they would visually like to show, give me contact, and we'll do our best.
Okay, Mary. Well, you have a great weekend. It's going to be coming up here in a few days, and we'll try to get you on here in the next month or so again.
All righty. You have a good evening.
I'm going to try. You take care, kid.
Bye-bye.
And bye. So, abductions and all that stuff, it just, I don't know. I mean, underground bases, Antarctica. I mean, so many things out there, that things could be going on. Again, like some of these sighted aliens and stuff like that are not the most friendly towards human. I mean, I guess there's a species that actually like eating humans or the little people. I don't know. It's just